Margaret sat alone at her kitchen table, staring at the stack of papers in front of her. It had been just 3 weeks since her husband of 47 years had passed away, and already the decisions were overwhelming her. The funeral home bills, the insurance claims, the well-meaning relatives asking what she planned to do with the house. In a moment of panic, she called her son and said, "I need to sell everything and move immediately. I can't handle this house alone." 6 months later, she deeply regretted that hasty decision. Each year, nearly 14 million Americans over the age of 65 find themselves suddenly alone after losing their spouse. The grief alone is overwhelming, but what many don't realize is that the decisions you make in those first months can impact the rest of your life, financially, emotionally, and physically. Today, I want to share with you 5 critical mistakes that many seniors make after losing their spouse. These aren't just minor missteps. They're decisions that can haunt you for years to come, adding even more pain to an already difficult time. But more importantly, I'll show you exactly what to do instead to protect yourself, maintain your independence, and eventually find peace and purpose again. Stay with me until the end, because the final mistake is one that almost everyone makes, yet nobody talks about. It might be the most damaging of all, but it's also completely avoidable once you know what to watch for. If you're watching this because you've recently lost your spouse, I want you to know that I understand your pain. The road ahead isn't easy, but with the right guidance, you can avoid the pitfalls that so many others have fallen into. And if you're watching to prepare yourself for the future, you're already taking a wise step that your future self will thank you for. Don't miss the final insight. It's one that most people overlook, yet it holds incredible power in predicting what lies ahead. These markers could completely reshape how you see your future and add valuable years to your life. If this has sparked your interest, show your support by hitting the like button, subscribing to our channel, and sharing this video with those you care about. Together, let's make informed choices for a healthier, longer life. Now let's begin with the first critical mistake that can drastically impact your future. Number 1. Making major financial decisions. Too quickly, one of the most common yet devastating mistakes people make after losing a spouse is rushing into major financial decisions. Grief clouds judgment, and suddenly you're faced with what feels like 1,000 choices. What to do with the house, the investments, the insurance money, the retirement accounts. Think about Robert, a 73-year-old who lost his wife Linda after 50 years of marriage. Just 2 months after her passing, still deep in grief, he decided to give large sums of money to his children and grandchildren. He thought, "What else am I going to do with it? I want them to enjoy it while I'm alive." Within a year, Robert faced a serious health crisis and realized he had given away much of the cushion that should have covered his long-term care needs. Or consider Ellen, who sold her home of 30 years just weeks after her husband passed. The house felt too empty, too full of memories. But she sold in a rush for less than market value and soon discovered that rental prices in her area had skyrocketed. Her hasty decision meant less financial security when she needed it most. Here's why this happens. Grief physically affects your brain. Studies show that bereavement can actually impair cognitive function, especially decision-making abilities. You're literally not thinking straight, even if you feel like you are. Add to that the emotional pressure from family members, financial advisors, even real estate agents who see an opportunity, and it's a perfect storm for poor choices. What should you do instead? First, establish a waiting period. Financial. Experts recommend making no major money decisions for at least 16 or 12 months after losing a spouse, unless absolutely necessary. Put a note on your calendar for 6 months from now that says, "Now I can start considering bigger financial changes." This gives your brain and heart time to stabilize. Second, create a simple, urgent versus important list. Some financial matters truly are urgent. Paying the mortgage, filing for survivor benefits, or transferring utility bills to your name. Focus only on these immediate needs. Everything else, selling property, giving away assets, making investments, can and should wait. Third, find a trusted financial buffer person. This might be an adult child, A trusted friend with financial knowledge or a fee-only financial advisor who doesn't earn commissions from your decisions. Ask them to help screen financial choices and give you honest feedback when emotions might be clouding your judgment. Remember, money decisions made in grief are rarely your best decisions. Give yourself the gift of time. Your financial future depends on it. If you're finding this information helpful so far, please comment 1 below to let me know you're here with me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend clicking that subscribe button and turning on notifications so you don't miss future videos that could help you navigate these challenging transitions. Now let's continue with the second critical mistake. Number 2. Isolating yourself from social connections. After decades of sharing your life with someone, the silence of an empty house can be deafening. Many seniors respond to this by withdrawing, declining invitations, avoiding social gatherings, and shutting themselves away with their grief. While this might feel natural, research shows it's one of the most harmful mistakes you can make for both your mental and physical health. Take Thomas, for example. At 79, he lost his wife Barbara after 54 years together. They had a large circle of friends, most of them couples they'd known for decades. After Barbara's passing, Thomas stopped answering phone calls. "I felt like a third wheel," he told me, "and I couldn't bear to see the pity in their eyes." Within 6 months, Thomas's health deteriorated dramatically. His blood pressure spiked, he lost weight, and his doctor noticed early signs of cognitive decline. It wasn't just grief. It was the isolation that was literally making him sick. The science is clear on this. Social isolation increases the risk of premature death by nearly 30%. It's as damaging to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. For seniors who've lost a spouse, it can accelerate cognitive decline, worsen existing health conditions, and even suppress immune function. Even more concerning is how quickly isolation can become your new normal. What starts as "I just need some time alone" can, within months, turn into an entirely solitary lifestyle that's increasingly difficult to change. Your social skills begin to rust, your confidence in public settings diminishes, and gradually, the idea of reaching out becomes more and more daunting. So what should you do instead? First, recognize that some social contact is essential, even when you don't feel like it. Start small: a brief coffee with a close friend, a short phone call, or even a walk where you might encounter neighbors. Think of these as health maintenance, just like taking your medications. Second, be honest about your needs. Many people avoid grieving friends because they don't know what to say or do. Give them guidance. "I'd appreciate company for dinner once a week, but I might not be very talkative," or "I'd love to join you for that concert, but I might need to leave early if it gets overwhelming." Third, consider structured social activities specifically designed for widows and widowers. Many community centers, religious organizations, and senior centers offer bereavement groups where you can connect with others who truly understand your experience. These groups provide both emotional support and practical advice for navigating this new chapter. Fourth, embrace technology. Video calls with family, online communities for seniors, or even simple text message check-ins can provide vital connection when getting out of the house feels too challenging. Don't dismiss these as not real socializing. Any positive human connection benefits your brain and body. Remember Martha, who lost her husband at 68. She made herself accept one social invitation each week even when she didn't feel like it. "Sometimes I cried in the car before going in," she said, "but I never regretted going." 3 years later, she has a vibrant social life and even helps newly widowed friends navigate their grief. The effort she made to maintain connections, despite her pain, quite literally saved her life. If you're still with me and finding value in this advice, please type 2 in the comments below. Your engagement helps others find this content, and it lets me know what information is most helpful to you. Now let's move on to the third critical mistake. Number 3. Neglecting your physical health. When you're grieving, your physical health often becomes the last priority. Food loses its taste, sleep becomes erratic, and the motivation to exercise or even take medications properly can disappear. This neglect of physical health is one of the most dangerous mistakes seniors make after losing a spouse, and it often happens without you even noticing. Consider James, a 77-year-old who had always been active and health-conscious throughout his life. When his wife died after a long illness, he spent months as her caregiver, barely sleeping and eating whatever was quick and convenient. After she passed, this pattern continued. He lost interest in cooking nutritious meals for just himself. His sleep remained disrupted, and his daily walks became a thing of the past. 6 months later, James ended up in the emergency room. His blood pressure medication hadn't been refilled in weeks. He was severely dehydrated, and he'd lost dangerous amounts of muscle mass. What started as grief had cascaded into a serious health crisis. This pattern is remarkably common. Research shows that in the first year after losing a spouse, seniors have a significantly higher risk of being hospitalized and a 41% higher risk of dying themselves. It's called the widowhood effect, and it's driven largely by this neglect of basic physical health. Why does this happen? Partly because daily health routines were often shared responsibilities. Perhaps your spouse always refilled the prescriptions, or cooked the healthy meals, or suggested the evening walk. Without those prompts, these healthy habits can quickly unravel. Additionally, grief itself is physically taxing. It raises stress hormones, disrupts sleep, and can even temporarily weaken your immune system. So what should you do instead? First, create simple systems for medication management. Use pill organizers, set phone alarms, or ask your pharmacy about medication packaging services that sort your prescriptions by date and time. This removes the mental burden of remembering what to take and when. Second, simplify nutrition without sacrificing health. Stock your freezer with portion-sized healthy meals, either homemade or store-bought. Consider meal delivery services designed for seniors, or arrange regular meal shares with neighbors or family. Even if you don't feel hungry, think of food as medicine your body needs. Third, maintain movement even if it's minimal. If you previously enjoyed structured exercise, it might now feel pointless or overwhelming. Scale back, but don't stop entirely. A 10-minute walk is infinitely better than no walk. Chair exercises, gentle stretching, or even walking around your house while talking on the phone helps maintain muscle mass and improve sleep quality. Fourth, be proactive with medical care. Schedule a checkup with your primary doctor. Be honest about your loss and ask them to help monitor you during this high-risk time. Many physicians can adjust appointment schedules or connect you with additional services when they understand you're recently bereaved. Remember Helen, who lost her husband at 82. She knew herself well enough to recognize she wouldn't cook proper meals, so she arranged for a meal delivery service 3 days a week and asked her neighbor to join her for dinner every Wednesday. She set her watch to beep when it was time for medications and kept her daily walks on her calendar, like appointments she couldn't miss. "I knew if I let my health slide, I'd be letting Frank down," she said. "He always took such good care of his health, and he'd want me to do the same." Your body's needs don't pause for grief. By creating simple systems to maintain your physical health, you give yourself the strength to process your loss and eventually rebuild your life. If you're finding this information useful, please type 3 in the comments. Your engagement helps this video reach others who might need this guidance. Now let's continue with the fourth mistake. Number 4, rushing to get rid of belongings and memories. In the weeks after losing a spouse, many well-meaning friends and family might encourage you to clear out closets, donate clothes, and remove painful reminders. Some seniors take this advice to heart, quickly disposing of decades of shared possessions in an attempt to ease their pain. This rush to remove belongings is often a serious mistake that can lead to profound regret later. Consider David, who lost his wife of 51 years. Just 1 month after her passing, his daughter visited and suggested they rip the Band-Aid off by clearing out all of her mother's belongings in one weekend. In a fog of grief, David agreed. They donated clothes, jewelry, books, even family recipes and handwritten notes. 6 months later, when the initial shock of grief had lifted, David was devastated by what he had lost, not just his wife, but nearly every tangible connection to their shared life. Or think about Patricia, who did the opposite after losing her husband. Friends pressured her to move on and clear out his things, but she insisted on taking her time. She kept his closet intact for nearly a year, occasionally sitting among his clothes when she missed him most. Gradually, she began to select special items to keep, gifts for family members who would treasure them, and items to donate. 3 years later, she has no regrets about the process. She kept what truly mattered and thoughtfully parted with the rest. The reality is that physical possessions carry emotional significance that can be impossible to evaluate while in acute grief. What seems disposable in one moment might later be recognized as an irreplaceable connection to your shared history. Once these items are gone, they cannot be recovered, potentially adding another layer of loss to your grief. So what should you do instead? First, establish a no major purging rule for at least 6 months. Small, manageable organizing tasks are fine, but avoid wholesale clearing of significant items. If well-meaning family members push, be firm. I appreciate your help, but I'm not ready to make these decisions yet. Second, when you do begin sorting through possessions, use the 3-box method. 1 for items you definitely want to keep, 1 for items you definitely want to let go of, and 1 for items you're unsure about. The unsure box should be stored away for at least another 6 months before revisiting. Third, find middle ground solutions that honor memories without preserving everything. A quilt made from favorite clothes, digital photos of collections, or memory books can capture the essence of these connections while reducing physical clutter. Fourth, recognize that keeping some items is normal and healthy. Your spouse's reading, glasses, favorite coffee mug, or the watch they wore daily aren't just things. They're tangible connections to your shared life. Keeping select meaningful items isn't living in the past. It's honoring a love that remains part of your ongoing story. Remember Anna, who kept her husband's workshop intact for almost 2 years after his passing? Everyone told me I was just prolonging my grief, she said, but sitting among his tools helped me feel close to him. Eventually, she kept a few special tools that she displays in a shadow box, gave some to her grandchildren who are learning woodworking, and donated the rest to a community center. I wouldn't have known which ones mattered most if I had rushed, she explained. There's no timeline for this process. Some items you may want to keep forever, others you'll gradually feel ready to part with. By giving yourself permission to take this process slowly, you protect yourself from decisions you might deeply regret. If this advice resonates with you, please comment 4 below. Your comments help this video reach more people who might be facing these same challenges. Now let's discuss the 5th and perhaps most damaging mistake many seniors make after losing a spouse. Number 5. Letting others take over your independence. Perhaps the most insidious mistake that happens after losing a spouse is the gradual surrender of your independence. It often begins with small concessions during a vulnerable time and can end with you feeling powerless in your own life. Here's how it typically unfolds. In the fog of early grief, well-meaning children, relatives, or friends step in to help. They start making decisions, perhaps scheduling appointments without asking, rearranging your home, or taking over financial management to make things easier for you. Initially, this help feels like a relief. But slowly, these temporary supports can become permanent arrangements that undermine your autonomy and confidence. Consider William, a 75-year-old who lost his wife suddenly. His daughter, concerned about her father living alone, started staying over frequently, then suggested he might be safer moving in with her family. What started as genuine concern gradually became controlling. She monitored his driving, criticized his meal choices, and questioned his spending. Within a year, William felt like a guest in his own life, unable to make even basic decisions without justifying them. Or think about Eleanor, whose son took over her banking after her husband died. "It's too complicated for you to worry about right now," he said. Soon she had to ask permission to access her own money. When she finally tried to regain control, she discovered investments had been moved and accounts had been changed, all supposedly for her protection. This erosion of independence is particularly dangerous because it often happens gradually, making it hard to recognize until significant control has been lost. It comes from people who genuinely care about you, making it difficult to resist. It can permanently damage your cognitive abilities and confidence. When others take over decision-making, your brain stops exercising these critical skills. Studies show that seniors who maintain decision-making independence experience less cognitive decline than those who surrender these functions, even when the intentions behind the help are good. So what should you do instead? First, distinguish between help and control. Accept specific, time-limited assistance with clear boundaries. Yes, you can help me organize these insurance papers this weekend, versus, yes, you can take over all my financial decisions. Second, create a system of consulted decisions rather than surrendered decisions. Tell supporters, I'd appreciate your input on this decision, but I need to make the final choice myself. This allows you to benefit from advice while maintaining your autonomy. Third, be wary of technology access. Be extremely cautious about sharing passwords, adding others to accounts, or allowing others to install monitoring apps on your devices, even temporarily. Once this access is granted, it can be difficult to reclaim your privacy. Fourth, establish or maintain direct relationships with key professionals. Make sure you personally know and can directly contact your doctor, attorney, financial advisor, and insurance agent. These connections ensure you have independent sources of information and support. Remember Gloria, who established clear boundaries after her husband passed. When her children suggested selling her house because it was too much for her, she instead proposed a 3-month trial. They would help with yard work and maintenance while she assessed whether staying was realistic. This approach respected both their concerns and her agency. 3 years later, she's still happily independent in her home, with occasional specific help that she requests. Or think about Michael, who recognized his vulnerability after losing his wife of 60 years. He told his family, "I appreciate your help, but I need to keep making my own decisions even if they're not always the ones you would make." He accepted help with specific tasks but maintained control over his living situation, daily schedule, and finances. "Making my own choices kept me sharp," he said. "It forced me to keep engaging with life." Your independence is both your right and a crucial factor in your continued cognitive health. Once surrendered, it can be extremely difficult to reclaim. By thoughtfully defining what help you actually need versus what others think you need, you protect not just your autonomy, but your long-term well-being. If you're still with me and finding value in this video, please type 5 in the comments. Your engagement means a lot, and it helps others find this important information. As we wrap up this discussion, I want you to remember that losing a spouse is one of life's most profound transitions. The road through grief isn't linear, and there's no perfect way to navigate it. But by avoiding these 5 critical mistakes, making hasty financial decisions, isolating yourself socially, neglecting your health, rushing to discard belongings, and surrendering your independence, you create space for healing and growth even amid loss. Think about Sarah, who lost her husband of 58 years. In the early days of grief, she felt completely lost. But by giving herself time before making major decisions, maintaining social connections even when it was difficult, creating simple systems for her health, thoughtfully sorting through possessions, and gently but firmly maintaining her independence, she gradually built a life that honored both her past and her future. 3 years later, Sarah reflects, "I still miss him every day, but I've discovered strengths I never knew I had. I've built new relationships while treasuring old memories. I've learned that moving forward doesn't mean leaving him behind. It means carrying his love with me into whatever comes next." Your story continues, even after this profound loss. The choices you make in the months after losing a spouse don't just impact your immediate comfort, they shape the next chapter of your life. By avoiding these common mistakes, you honor not just the relationship you had, but the person you continue to be. Remember, grief takes time. Be patient with yourself. Some days will be harder than others, and that's normal. But with thoughtful choices and proper support, you can eventually find meaning, purpose, and even joy again. Thank you for staying with me through this video. If you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider sharing it with someone who might need this guidance. Your comments are especially valuable. Whether you're sharing your own experience or asking questions, your engagement helps create a supportive community around these difficult topics. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you'll be alerted when we share more content designed to help seniors navigate life's challenges with dignity and wisdom. Until next time, take gentle care of yourself. You're more resilient than you know.